T-minus 9 minutes. T-minus 8 minutes. T-minus 7 minutes. T-minus 6 minutes. T-minus 5 minutes. Minus 3 minutes. Minus 2 minutes. Minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
Let's get it going. Hello to all the Rebel Rousers. I know you've been waiting all week for a Football Friday, and that's primarily what we have today, with Kevin the Medium joining us in moments from the Hughes Sports Podcast, Jim Barker in hour 2 from the CFL on TSN. Gonna mix in a little hockey too. I got some stories from Panthers training camp yesterday, and also Reid the Spaz Krasowski, a hockey fighter who's going to be featured in the Bare Knuckle Ice Wars here in Sunrise, Florida, coming up on October the 10th. Reid Krasowski, the Spaz, is going to be joining us in hour 2 to preview that fight card and tell us a little bit more about him. But Kevin the Medium joining us, as I say. Where's that bell? Kevin, are you ready for some football?
I am ready for some football. Did you enjoy that game last night?
I did. As a matter of fact, let's get it going. Quick six show horn. Quick six show topics. The big topic in sports, although I feel like we've already moved past it because it's noon Eastern already, but Josh Allen threw 3 touchdown passes and Terrell Bernard intercepted Tua with 3 minutes to go to secure the Buffalo Bills' 31-21 win over the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. I was waiting for a notification that Mike McDaniel had been fired as head coach of the Miami Dolphins. I was actually waiting to hear that when I got up this morning. Didn't happen yet, unless you've seen, Kev. Has he been fired? Have you seen Mike McDaniel being fired?
And it was funny because you mentioned it yesterday. I actually checked before we came on air, and all I read was he's been given another week because they had a moral victory. I hate that word. But they put him off till next week now. I think they're playing Monday night. Is that correct? So
I don't know. I'm worried about today. Yeah.
I can't think about tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm not worried about Monday. I'll tell you. Listen, we didn't even do a poll question. We haven't even talked about it. There's our poll question, Kev. If you're watching Joe 747, put that up. Do you believe in moral victories? And as we sit here right now and we go to air, I'm going to say no. But I kind of understand this, Kev. This was the topic here in South Florida yesterday. It was how bad do the Dolphins need to lose for McDaniel to be fired? It was 14-14 at halftime. The Bills outscored them 17-7 in the second half, but they made it reasonably close. Miami showed some fight, and that's why they're saying, okay, we'll give them another week. 0-3, the analytics say you're not making the playoffs. So I'll say this. I don't believe in moral victories. But you take that while I tweet it. Would you mind? Do you believe in it?
No, I don't mind at all. I was going back and forth on that when I read the article saying it was kind of a moral victory, if there's such a thing in the NFL. Is there? Yeah, maybe. I mean, they didn't get blown out. They hung with the best there is right now. So is that a moral victory? Sure. Still not a victory. You're still 0-3, and every fan out there, I'm sure you live there. I'm sure every fan out there is calling their radio stations and screaming from their balconies or the beaches, saying, "Fire him! We want a new regime." But is it just the head coach, or is it a house cleaning?
Oh, dude, I didn't even have the radio on this morning. I went for a 2-mile walk. And
Nice.
I listened to Mike Florio, and they actually weren't. Was he talking about that? They were talking about all the other weekend games, but it was somewhere along the line. Somebody was saying, "Why is all the crap going on Mike McDaniel? It should be going on the GM Chris Greer because he's been around for close to, I think it's 8 years, and he fired the last coach and all the rest. Why is McDaniel getting all the?" But that goes with the job, man, and. He's had now 3+ years. He's into his 4th season. You can't fire every player. So, of course, it's the coach that's going to be gone. Okay, so that's the open. Great open by you, Kev. I love it. And you also came up with between the two of us, teamwork makes the dream work. That's the poll question today. Do you believe in moral victories? And just to recount, I said no. What did you say?
I just voted and I said no as well.
Okay, yeah, no, I don't believe it. Now, listen. If Luke Wilson from the CFL on TSN can criticize the league, then I can too, as we continue here into point 2. I got up this morning, I checked my Facebook, and thanks to the Regina Rams alumni, shout out Gary Chop Bresh, who runs their Facebook page, Regina Rams alumni, of which they include me in that group. I saw a photo of Frank McChrystal, Paul Barnby, Ed Bankowski, and Doug McKillop. A lot of those names wouldn't mean anything to you, Kev, because you're in Alberta and a Vancouver guy, but those are Regina Rams greats. And they were in Southern Ontario. And I'm like, what the hell are those four doing? And so, it must be Hall of Fame weekend for the Canadian Football League. Did a quick Google search. This is like 5 a.m. out here. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's Hall of Fame weekend in the Canadian Football League. And if you don't know Frank McChrystal, you should. He's the Bill Belichick of junior football in Canada. But how about Jermaine Copeland, Brian Chew, Jovan Olafoya, Daryl Hall, Scott Flagel, Glenn Johnson, and Frank McChrystal? If it wasn't for the Rams alumni Facebook page, I wouldn't have known it was Canadian Football Hall of Fame weekend. Would you have known until now?
Well, it's funny you say it because before we came on the air, I was going through the game notes just to kind of pick up a few things. And I saw it on there. And I was like, how does this not get broadcasted? Like, how is this not the biggest story of the week? It's, again, I'm going to grab a gun and I'm going to shoot my foot because that's what CFL seems to do is they keep shooting themselves in the foot in spite of themselves. This should be celebrated. This should be the biggest thing that we have right now. But unfortunately, it's the best kept secret in the CFL.
Right. So I'm going to try to be as positive as I can about this. I really want to be. But again, Luke Wilson bangs on the CFL almost every day, and he's going to be on TSN tonight on the sidelines. So if he can do it, I can do it. I want to ask our viewers across Canada who are watching, and the States as well, if you're Americans that are CFL fans, what are your best memories of any one of these guys? Because to be honest with you, I could sit here. This could be a Hall of Fame, Canadian Football Hall of Fame pregame. For 2, we could. You and I are both longtime, old-time fans of the CFL. I like Jermaine Copeland and his dances,
Yes.
You remember him with his Stampeders. Brian Chew was part of a Montreal offensive line that was like literally the Berlin Wall in front of Anthony Calvillo. You knew when you were going into Montreal, you were going to have a long day. playing
You're gonna have
against Scott
bruises.
Flory. Yeah. When our bus pulled up to Molson McGill Stadium, they'd turn the engine off and the bus kept shaking because you knew you were going up against some absolute studs with the Alouettes, which included Brian Chew. Daryl Hall, a little before, well, not really before my time. I did broadcast his games. It was very early on in my career. Some of these guys a little more in the meat of it. But I just want to ask the viewers, what's your favorite memory of those guys? It's Canadian Football Hall of Fame weekend. Don't even get me going on the fact the ceremony is tonight because it's not televised anywhere. I don't think it's streamed anywhere. I don't know. And that's a major problem. I talked to the former executive director of the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, who's a close friend of mine today, Mark DeNoble. And let's just say we're both a little disappointed that the whole country isn't aware that it's Canadian Football Hall of Fame weekend because these guys deserve better. But we'll talk about the games. We'll talk about everything else when we come back. It's a Football Friday. This is just the opening segment. We're rolling here in the warm-up. We're live on Game Plus Television, YouTube, podcast, and 1700 AM Mission Radio.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Nazareth's Canadian Farewell Tour is coming to Moose Jaw. Live at Temple Garden Center, October 17th. With special guest, Lee Aaron. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or sasktix.ca.
Football Friday continues, and we're brought to you in part by Outlaw Communications, where creativity isn't a hobby, it's a way of life. From strategic communications to leadership training and conversational content, we help your message connect and inspire. Kevin the Medium is with me. We're having fun on a Football Friday. And before we get to the actual games, Kev, this is so much fun with you. I appreciate you coming on from the Hughes Sports Podcast. Way more people want to talk about the topic that you submitted, moral victories, than the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Not one person in the break has written in with a memory of any of the guys going into the Hall of Fame tonight, so I guess I'm the only one that cares, which is fine, just saying. Gary from Winnipeg writes in. Sorry, go ahead.
If the CFL would have let us know, you or the Hughes Sportscast or all our podcasters out there know that this was happening, we might have had those people on our shows. We could have been promoting this, so then they would have memories. But they didn't. So whose fault is that? Is that mine and your fault, or is that the CFL's fault?
I don't know. The world's changed, clearly. What I know is it's not my problem. So not at all. But they want to talk more about the moral victories things. Producer Corey writes in from Skycron. By the way, if you don't mind, Corey, turn your mic up if you don't mind. He says, I don't believe in moral victories at the NFL level. I do believe in moral victories in general, but with that much money on the line at that play level, I don't think there's room for it. Carlos in Indianapolis says, I can accept moral victories in the college or high school levels, but not in the pros, where the differences between teams are too slim. Tony in Cochrane says, I believe in moral victories. I'm a Browns fan, remember? Yeah, they'll take any kind of victories. But it's just funny because most of my friends are sports people, like in the business. But I really, really cherish those that aren't in the sports because they have such a better view and perspective than the guys and gals that are actually in the trenches every day. They really do, because Brendan Taman, the general manager, God bless him, Bombers and Riders, always said this is a results-based business. That was always his thing, right? If they were firing a coach or cutting a player or whatever. And my friend Mydale Mike Lee, you've never met him, but he's the oil guy, the landman. And he said, every business is a results-based business.
Of course.
Every business. Kevin, you're in sales, right? So don't say that sports is a results-based business.
If I'm not selling trailers, if I'm not having that consistent result, guess what? I'm going to be let go, just like the coaches are let go, just like the players are let go. It's business. That's all it is. It's about the bottom line. How much money can we make?
Of course. So if you went into your boss's office and said, I almost had that guy. I almost had him. He had his credit card out, and then he put it. It was a moral victory. I think we've just answered the question, Kev. I think
he'd start laughing like I am.
Yeah, the moral victories aren't a thing. Monty in Saskatoon writes in. He says he's going to the Rams and Huskies tonight, which, by the way, I will be discussing a little later on. I got some stories that I want to get into with that group of men that I saw this morning from the Regina Rams that are at the Hall of Fame induction tonight. Monty says the CFL loses. That's what I'm saying. I've had, thanks to the Rams alumni, is how I found out it was Canadian Football Hall of Fame weekend this weekend. But it doesn't seem like anybody wants to talk about the Hall of Famers, and that's fine. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in. He says, Kevin, you should take that ugly jersey off. It looks like the training staff washed the road whites with home blacks.
Sometimes there's worth commenting to comments. Other times you just smile and nod your head and go, talk to me at the end of the game tonight. Oh, my goodness, I hope we pull out a miracle. I love it when this happens.
Okay, so it's funny you say that. So I've said that we would get down to the games. Point 3 of the Quick Six show topics is the actual games.
Yes.
And I had occasion this morning to tune in Joe Madden and her wonderful program that she's doing, Joe Madden Sports, and she talked about the CFL and these games tonight. And she says, hey, it's not as popular talk as the NFL and the college, but she goes, it pays out just the same as those other leagues.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there going, this is oddly fascinating. And I realize now, because you understand, those sports people I mentioned earlier, they don't even talk about the betting lines. They can't. They don't even look at them. They don't care. I remember one time before a game, when I was the voice of the Riders, I was standing in the end zone in warm-ups with Craig Dickinson. And you know Dickie, well, he's got his arms crossed. He leans over. He's like, Rod, what's the line tonight? And I'm like, Riders by 8.5. Okay. That's Craig Dickinson for you, right? But they don't look it up, and they certainly aren't point shaving or anything like that. So you and I talked about straight up winners yesterday. We did our picks for Pump Jacks Cathedral, and I'm going to be doing my NFL picks next hour. But if you want to look at point spreads, the Toronto Argonauts set to host the Montreal Alouettes tonight in a key showdown in the CFL East. The 5-8 Argos are riding a 3-game win streak. At one time, they were 2-8. And a win tonight would pull them even with the Alouettes, who are 6-7 for second place in the East. Now, Montreal is favored by 2.5. So I kind of get it now, because I've been a sports guy my whole life, not a betting guy at all. I see Mike Richards is now launching his own sports betting show. I'm like, good for you, bro. I would never do that. I couldn't do that. I don't even understand it enough to do that. But I get why people like it. The idea of a 2.5-point spread on this one tonight, would you take that bet?
Yes, I would, because I think it's going to be that close of a game, right? So, but I'm like you. I have a good friend of mine, Kelly Kellner, and he's diehard sports bettor, and he literally speaks a different language when he starts talking about it. And I glaze over. I'm like, I don't understand it. It's just one of those. Give me a win, give me a loss. That's all I can handle.
I'm actually okay with not knowing it. I'll be honest. The other night, I have a favorite pizza place, and the next time you come to South Florida, because I've seen you a couple times when you've been here, but you've never really come up to my area. I've come down to yours. Yes. But there's a pizza place called Gator Pizza, and I was in there recently, and a couple guys were going over prop bets and stuff, and I said, "Hey guys." They had their phones out, right? I said, what app do you use for your betting? Because there's a million. And they said, Hard Rock Bets. That's the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. It's by far, I would say, the number one betting app and betting platform here in Florida. But anyways, you're right. It's a different language. And I overhear guys at the Panthers games talking about it too. But I'm okay with listening to it. I'm not okay with dipping into the pool. But again, I also understand how it makes it fun. So the game you're going to tonight, and the people are already trash talking each other here. This is what makes it fun. The BC Lions are in Calgary tonight with sights set on climbing the CFL's West Division ladder. The Lions share the same record as Winnipeg at 6-7 and will look to take third place with a win. The Stampeders, on the other hand, look to gain some ground on Saskatchewan for top spot in the West. Stampeders favored by 4.5. Will they cover?
I'm surprised it's just 4.5. I honestly figured it would be closer to that 6.5 mark. So will they cover? The bet, if I had to put money on it, I would say yes. Of course, in my heart of hearts, I want the Lions to pull off a miracle. And there's two ways they can do that: defense and turnovers. We know Rourke and we know VA is going to throw the ball a million miles. That's a given. It's that defense where literally Calgary has allowed 245 points. BC has allowed 385. That's a big spread. That's why Calgary's 8-3 and BC's 6-7. That alone has to show BC needs a defensive game.
Yeah, well. And are they going to have it? I mean, I was enjoying Joe Madden. I don't know who the analyst was she had on there. They were running down all the stats, which I think is how the bettors make their lines. But the guy said the biggest story is the quarterbacks, of course. And the thing is, did you watch Thursday Night Football last night? It was Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. They're not on there talking about who's going to have more passing yards, Josh Allen or Tua Tagovailoa. They might be flashing it on the bottom of the screen. The announcers aren't talking about it because it doesn't necessarily have a bearing on the game. But for the fun betting purposes, and we did make our picks yesterday, I'll just say this. Who do you think has more passing yards tonight, Vernon Adams or Nathan Rourke? I'll go down that garden path.
I'm going to say Rourke's going to have it by 45 points, 45 more yards than Adams. Take it to the bank.
Well, you said that BC, if they're going to win it, they got to do it on defense. And I'm sitting here going, I read this yesterday to you in the game notes. This is the highest net offense. I'm going to say like 460 yards a game in 20 years. The BC Lions are putting up, yet they're a below 500 team. I think we all know why.
Because their defense sucks. Let's face it. I'm a diehard BC Lions fan. All you got to do is look at the wall behind me. But man, they need work on their defense. They shorted up last week. They brought in two Americans for the ends, and that really helped. Betts was on fire. He needs to have a game again like that. 5 sacks would be awesome if he could just get one more than he did last week.
Yep. 902-518-3033, by the way, is the text line for Western Dodge. Drive with confidence. Shop Western Dodge. Financing, selection, and service you can count on. Gary in Winnipeg writes in and he says, sorry, but sports gambling is for suckers. So are lottery tickets. It's don't call people names. Nobody's got a gun to their head if they like it. It's so what? You don't do it. I don't do it. I don't think that they're suckers. Whatever. It's paying for a lot of things. Kirk in Toronto, that you don't have to, Gary. It's subsidizing a lot of things in sports. Kirk in Toronto writes in, he says, hey, Rod, on the Western Dodge text line, it literally is a football Friday for me as I will be parked in my usual lakeside end zone seats for the battle for second place in the East. Buckle up and pull together, Scullers. So he's all ready for the Argos and the Alouettes tonight. And that's the thing. I mean, we could sit here. It's a wonderful Football Friday doubleheader. And by the way, for those that have tuned in that aren't as much into the CFL talk, I'll be talking college later and NFL later. Jim Barker's going to be with us in hour 2. But which do you think will be the better game tonight of the two? Like Monday, we had a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. I thought for sure it would be the Los Angeles Chargers, Las Vegas Raiders game. And it wasn't. It was a double-digit Chargers win. The Houston-Tampa Bay game went down to the last second with Baker Mayfield and the Bucs driving the field, the length of the field to win the football. You never know. You never know. What do you think will be what do you think will be the better game tonight? And by that, I mean lead changes, closer score, that kind of thing.
I think it's going to be the BC Stamps game. And I'm not just saying that because I'm going. And there's 8 of us going. We're sitting in the Telus zone, the end zone. It should be kind of a cool experience. But I think the BC Stamps game is going to be back and forth. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I'm hoping it's a close game.
We'll talk about the other games coming up after the break. I'm with you. I mean, the other thing is you got 2 backup quarterbacks facing each other in the Montreal-Toronto game. Macbeth and Jared Daggy versus 2 marquee CFL names in Nathan Rourke and Vernon Adams. I'm going to read this text, and you can let it marinate through the break, Kevin the Medium. Think about it. Vintage Sasko writes in on the Western Dodge text line. He says, hi, Uncle Florida Rodfather. If the Canadian Football Hall of Fame inducted games like the UFC does with matches, what one are y'all inducting? What's the greatest game? Well, I mean, for some reason, I was thinking only regular season, and that would be the Canada Day comeback in 2010. Rough Riders over the Alouettes, 54-51, whatever the hell, triple overtime, double or triple overtime in 2010. But the Grey Cup, there are 2 that go in. The 89 Grey Cup, regarded as the greatest ever. Saskatchewan Roughriders 43-40. I know that one. We were all watching it over Hamilton and Skydome. That's number 1. And number 2, which I was fortunately at, in BC Place, which I think is your favorite structure in the world, 2005 Grey Cup, Edmonton Eskimos, Montreal Alouettes, also going to overtime. The game where Danny Machocha got screwed up on what down it was. Do you remember that one? And he was celebrating too early.
Yes.
Remember that? Anyways, that 2 very close games, the 89 and 05 Grey Cup. But you may feel otherwise. As a matter of fact, I'm sure you do. So think about that. What's going into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in terms of games? Great question, Vintage Tasco. We'll be right back with more here on Game Plus TV.
Country's hottest party is coming. James Barker Band, Bud Light Buckle Up Tour 2025. Live across Canada with special guests Ryan and Rory. Yeah, let's keep it November 20th, Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at SaskTIX.ca. James Barker Band Live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Football Friday continues with a hockey note. Jenna writes in, says, good morning from Southern California. The WHL is back on Victory Plus. Now might be a good time to do our junior hockey report for the Mad Greek Eatery. We do it all the time. WHL opening night. The Moose Jaw Warriors open at Brandon. Saskatoon's at PA, God's team, the Regina Pats at Swift Current. You can follow along on Victory Plus, as we mentioned. For legendary ribs, delicious pizza, and late-night bites, it's the Mad Greek Eatery, the biggest supporters of the Warriors I know. Open until 11 p.m. Order online, pick up, or dine in at themadgreekeatery.com. Kevin, I am not arrogant enough to not allow the viewers to take over the direction of this show from time to time. So with the Canadian Football Hall of Fame going in induction tonight, and sadly the viewers don't seem to want to talk about the players. I'll tell some stories later about them. But the idea of the Hall of Fame games has got everybody all horny here. Bomber Boy writes in, he says, the Bombers versus Eskimos when Milt Stegall caught a pass for 90-plus yards with no time left on the clock on it. There's some here that I'm guessing I don't want to steal your thunder. You tell me yours.
Well, as soon as you said it, two popped into my head right away. On 94, of course, when BC beat Baltimore. But the one that stands out to me, and only because all you need to do is look over my shoulder, and actually, if I lean this way, you can see another picture there of the actual kick. It's a drawing of the 2000 game with 1:35 seconds left on the clock. And Louis kicks the field goal to put the Lions up by 8 over Montreal. And then there was all kinds of controversy in that last minute, but we won't talk about that. And the Lions win that game. Louis retires. The combination of how it ended and the fact that Louis retires after that game. Wasn't that the game they gave him the truck and then they took the truck away from him and then they gave him a truck again? I believe that was.
I don't know. I thought I broadcast Lou's last game. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I talked to Lou about that, and you were there at the luncheon, the Legends Luncheon last year, where they killed the lights in BC Place. The friggin' lights went out, and they put "Thank you, Lou" in red lettering on the thing, and they screwed us on the time clock. Don't get me going. That place and me.
That was the last regular season game, wasn't it?
Yes, they gave him a phantom touchdown.
I remember
that was
Lou's
the
face.
thing.
I remember Lou's face when you talked about that, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that."
He was like, as if I'm going to rush in for a touchdown. As if he's like, look at me. But they gave it to him because it's Lou Pasaglia. And whatever, we finished the season 3-15. I'm moving on. Rich in Edmonton writes in and says, I was at the 2005 Grey Cup. It was terrific. I also have a soft spot for the 1987 Grey Cup. Damon Allen coming in for the injured Matt Dunnigan to win on a last-second field goal. Oh, my God. Okay. Well, it's Football Friday, so they were talking about all-time best Super Bowls the other day. I think it was on NFL Network. And you old-time NFL fans, you'll have to help me with this because it was before I was following it. It was early 80s, but it was Marcus Allen and the Raiders beating Washington. That's what it was. They were talking about this upcoming weekend. It's Raiders at Commanders in a rematch of the Super Bowl, whatever, 15 or something. And I remember Marcus Allen. The only reason I bring this up is I was doing an event at Grey Cup with him 2013. Marcus flew up from Vegas to speak with Damon Allen and Pinball. Yes. And George Reed and Don Narcisse. And Marcus told that story where he brought a rental car to the stadium in L.A., Memorial Coliseum in L.A. The security at the parking lot wouldn't let him through. And he's like, I'm Marcus Allen. I'm playing in the game in 3 hours. Like, do you have any idea? Any ID? He goes, I don't, but I'm Marcus Allen. Like, hello. Wouldn't let him drive the car. So he left the car there. He goes, as far as I know, it's still there.
That's awesome.
I could tell a million stories like that too, but I won't. But anyways, it's a great question from Fake Gainer. What is your Hall of Fame games as the Canadian Football Hall of Fame inducts a wonderful class tonight? By the way, the picks are for Pump Jack's Steakhouse and Saloon. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. I can't let you go without talking about the Saturday games. Again, I know you're all scintillated. I know you've been looking forward all week to the game you're going to tonight, BC at Calgary. But I'm a little interested in the point spreads of the other games. Winnipeg at Ottawa. We don't normally talk about point spreads, certainly not when it comes to the CFL, but I thought, why the hell not? We did straight up picks yesterday. Ottawa is favored by 1.5 tonight at home, Saturday, against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And you got two fan bases there that are like on pins and needles, Kev. The Red Blacks and the Bombers. Like, if whoever loses this, they're going to need therapy. They're fans.
Yes, I'm more so. I think more so if Winnipeg loses it, their fan base is they're going to have broken ankles. They're going to be jumping off that bandwagon real quick and calling for someone's head. I already see it. We need to replace Calera. Strevler's not the man. They didn't talk about that for the last 5 years because they were winning. How do you fix everything? Win. That fixes everything. 1.5. I'm surprised that it's that close, but it is going to be a close game. I think I took Ottawa on this one. Did I not? Yeah, we both did. We both did. And at 1.5, pretty confident they'll cover that.
So, I'm just surprised it's that narrow. By the way, Jim Wagner writes in. He's watching from Balgony, Sask. He says, morning, RP Nation. I'm with Kev's heart. Go Lions. Take those stamps down a peg. Did Calgary get cocky? I missed it. Calgary got cocky? What's going on in downtown Calgary, Kev? Are they rioting? What's going on there?
Can you hear that? It's just constant, my friend. It's Last night I was woken up at 4 o'clock by a car alarm going off, and I was about to yell at the car. I was that angry at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was like, why am I yelling at a car?
It reminds me when I was in Times Square in New York getting my intervention training. It was like summer of 2017. And I remember 54th floor of a hotel in Times Square in New York, 2 a.m., opening the window and yelling, shut up! Sirens, screeching tires, yelling. Oh my God, New York, it just isn't for me. Anyways.
Downtown Calgary wouldn't be for you then, Rod. It's loud here.
At one time I was. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Florida is for me, God's waiting room. Edmonton at Hamilton. Edmonton at Hamilton to close out the week in the Hall of Fame game. The Tiger Cats are favored by 5.5. It's the most widest spread of the week. What do you think?
They'll cover that. I think this one's, honestly, I think this one's going to be a blowout. I think it's 14 points or more, to be honest. I think it's going to be, Bo's just playing. He's been throwing that ball. We talked about it yesterday. So, yeah, they're going to cover that for sure.
What about the sprinkle of Jesus and Cody Fajardo? Are you not paying attention? They have God on their side. Didn't you know that?
It was funny. As I was saying that, I heard your voice again in my head. Death taxes. Cody Fajardo winning.
Exactly. Rob in Las Vegas writes, and he says, July 14th, 1994, Matt Dunnigan passes for a jaw-dropping 713 yards. I spoke to retired receiver Alfred Jackson about the game in Vegas. He had 308 yards receiving in the game. Very memorable. Why are we talking about this, everybody? For those that just tuned in, the Canadian Football Hall of Fame induction goes tonight, and Vintage Sasko writes in and says, if you're inducting games, what games would go in? I'll say it again because you're about to adjourn here in 90 seconds. It's a disservice to me that nobody wants to talk about the players, but I feel like that's a me problem that I'll be ruminating on all weekend and we'll need to get over.
It's funny because last Grey Cup, which is going to be a memorable Grey Cup for other reasons other than just the game, I was talking to Anton McKenzie, who I sat with, and we discussed the fact how the CFL doesn't respect their players, their alumni, not the same way the NFL or the NHL does. And we need to correct that. We as fans need to voice our opinions and say, we need to respect our players. I mean, there's some greats out there. There's some not so greats, but there is some greats out there. So we need to respect them. We need to honor them.
I would say to all and sundry, good luck with that. I've been trying for at least 20 years, and I've given up the ghost and moved to Florida. Kev, have a great weekend. Enjoy the game tonight. Be safe.
I'll send some pictures. Go Lions.
Yeah, please do. We'll be coming right back, everybody, with a sports update and viewer takeover the rest of the way, and I got some great stories as well with what Kevin... You did a great job today, Kev. If possible, even better than yesterday. Nice job. We're live on Game Plus Television, YouTube Live, podcast, and Mission Radio.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And it's just you and me now. Viewer takeover, as I say, for the next 40 minutes. And then Jim Barker will be joining us from the CFL on TSN, 5-time Grey Cup champion. But we'll be talking NFL and college with him as well. And then a bit of a break from format. Reid the Spaz Krasowski will be joining us in hour 2 from the Bare Knuckle Ice Wars. He's from Yorkton, Saskatchewan, former junior and senior hockey player. Bare Knuckle Ice Wars. It's exactly like it sounds. Just think UFC on skates. It's coming to Sunrise, Florida, October the 10th. I'm going, thanks to Brent from Wellington, Florida. And Reid the Spaz Krasowski is asked to come on. As I said yesterday, or maybe it was Wednesday, there's a lot of people trying to get on this show, folks, and I need to sit back and take some pitches and swing at others. I'm like, yeah, I'll take a swing at that one. Let's bring the Spaz on. So I'm looking forward to that interview coming up in hour 2. And then let me get to a sports update here. As you know, hour 1, Canadian sports. Hour 2, we move more into U.S. sports. So the Toronto Blue Jays look to move closer to an American League East title tonight when they start a 3-game series at Kansas City. The Jays have seen their grip on the division lead slip after losing the last 2, while the Yankees won their last 2. That moved the Yankees within 3 games of Toronto, though the Jays hold the tiebreaker should the teams finish the season with the same record. For the Canadian University football fans, rivalry games don't get much bigger than this. Week 4 in Canada West football reaches the halfway mark of the regular season, headlined by a Friday night showdown at Griffith Stadium tonight. U of R at the U of S. The clash between the Rams and Huskies is not only a Hardy Cup rematch, but also a battle between the conference's only nationally ranked teams. Marshall Erickson and the Rams are 3-0. Saskatchewan Huskies 2-1. And UBC will be hosting their homecoming game tonight, welcoming the Calgary Dinos to Thunderbird Stadium. So those are some Canadian notes. The sports update is for Ultimate Fan Zone in Moose Jaw. Ba-ba-ba-bum-ba. Are you looking for the hottest fan gear? Swing by Ultimate Fan Zone in Moose Jaw or shop online at ultimatefanzone.ca, where real fans get their gear. This all kind of ties in. Speaking of the Rams. So I get up this morning, and one of the very first things I see on my phone is a photo from the Regina Rams alumni group. Shout out Chop. of 4 gentlemen in Southern Ontario, clearly out of place. Frank McChrystal, who was the coach of the Regina Rams. I don't know how many national titles he won. 13? I can't remember. Ed Bankowski, Paul Barnby, and Doug McKillop. Ladies and gentlemen, the very first team that I was ever the voice of was the Regina Rams in 1991. I sat there and I looked at that photo. And the first thing I thought of is, what the hell are they doing in Southern Ontario? Oh, wait. Is it Canadian Football Hall of Fame weekend? Oh, it is. That's how I found out. So thank you, Rams alumni, for alerting me to that, because nobody else did. And Frank was the coach of that team that I was the voice of at the age of 18. And Ed Bankowski was my stats guy. Doug McKillop was the team president. And Paul Barnby was my color guy. Him and John Hammond split games, but you get the idea. The ham bone. Those 4 guys meant a hell of a lot to me in my history and getting going in this business. I'll tell you right now, I wasn't very good. I didn't know anything about football. They knew it, but they supported me. And I learned a lot of a lot of things. Like, I remember we played the Saskatoon Hilltops in the league final, 1991, and we get to the stadium, Gordie Howe Bowl in Saskatoon, and I go to get my broadcast gear off the bus, and Radar, the equipment manager, didn't pack it. I'm waiting for all the bags coming off the bus. There's none left. I'm like, Radar, where's my broadcast gear? He just gave me that look. You know that look? No broadcast gear. So I walk up to Doug McKillop, the president, and I said, they forgot my gear in Regina. I guess I'm not doing the game. No big deal. I'm thinking, I get the night off. Get to watch the game. He goes, you got to do this game. It's the league final. Running around, panicking. And then we get to the booth, and the phone line had been cut. It was a Hilltops Rams thing that if you don't know, you wouldn't know. If you know, you know. But anyways, that was just one of the memorable stories of that season. But then, so back to this thing. I mean, it's Hall of Fame induction night tonight. Nobody knows. It's a disservice. Kevin the Medium was talking about it prior to the break, that they don't honor the alumni, not to the degree that we would like from the league office level in the CFL, and they just don't. But maybe it's a Canadian thing versus a U.S. thing, whether it's sports or just people, because I was speaking at the Husky Dogs Breakfast in Saskatoon. I'll never forget the year, 2015. It was me and Ronnie Lott. Okay, voted in the top 11 all-time NFL players. The Ronnie Lott, San Francisco 49ers great. And they were introducing war veterans at Prairie Land Place in Saskatoon that morning, because it's a breakfast. And every single veteran that was introduced, Ronnie Lott stood up and clapped. He was the only one out of 1,500 people that stood up and clapped. He's like, what the hell is going on? And I said, we don't really honor our veterans the way you guys do in the States. And he was like, how that? I don't know. So, as I said, I'll be going into the weekend upset that nobody cares about these guys going into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, but I feel like it's a me thing. 902-518-3033 is the text line. It's odd, but maybe not entirely surprising, that the audience are jumping on this concept of what Hall of Fame games what games would be inducted into the Hall of Fame if you did that. Thank you, Vintage Sasko, for the inspiration of that, for the idea. Gary in Penticton, BC writes in, Gary with 2 R's. He says 1970 Empire Stadium, Calgary and Toronto. End of game, Toronto moved for a touchdown and the lead, and Leon McQuay fumbled the ball. Was that not 1971? Just saying. I think it's 1971, but I get it. Oh, and by the way, we were doing the junior hockey report for the Mad Greek Eatery in Moose Jaw. Penticton plays their first ever Western Hockey League game tonight in Victoria. I'm just putting that out there. There are certain things that I will never not be interested in, and junior hockey is one. So yeah, I remember Gary, when I talked on this show a few years ago now about, rumor is the WHL is coming to Penticton, and you said, well, Prove it. Nobody's talking about that here. They're playing tonight. So now it's that whole thing where you need to use discernment over what you report and what you don't report, which reminds me, where's John Ohm today? John Ohm yesterday on this program, when I said that I was going to Florida Panthers training camp yesterday, he is like, hey, can you tell Paul Maurice that we miss him in Winnipeg? I'm like, I'm not going to get anywhere near Paul Maurice. And then I end up from me to the camera away from Paul Maurice in the news conference. And I did not tell him that Winnipeg misses him, John. I'm pretty sure that they all know that, or he knows that. I don't think John Ohm's here today. I've not seen or heard from him. Yeah, Ken in Mississauga writes in and says, absolutely, 1971. I just like the idea that everybody's, oh, you're here. John's here. Hey, John. He's just listening. Glad to have you aboard, bro. I just wouldn't have. What I asked Paul Maurice about in the news conference was, how would you characterize the backup goaltenders battle? And if I ever had an opportunity to talk to Paul Maurice one-on-one, I think we get along real great, but that opportunity is not there anymore in today's sports world. It's totally fine. They're busy. I'm not that busy, but they don't sit around and shoot the spit like we used to. But he said, if you care, just on that goaltender battle, because they got 6 goalies in camp behind Sergei Bobrovsky, and he's like, I don't know anything about goaltending. So I defer to our goalie people. Rob Tallis is the goalie coach. Roberto Luongo is the senior advisor to the general manager, Bill Zito. He's like, they'll handle it. And then the funny thing is, I'll probably put it in my weekend newsletter. Not going to talk about it here today in a Football Friday, but I said as a follow-up to that, how important is the backup goalie job to Bob? And the answer from Pomo was that it's critically important. And I kind of laugh because I'm like, of course you're going to say it's critically important because it's a position on the team. The guy that sharpens skates is critically important, let's be honest, but it's also interchangeable. Anybody can sharpen skates. Anybody can back up Sergei Bobrovsky, I think. So I think it's just kind of unspoken that Winnipeg misses Paul Maurice. Oh, John Ohm says, nice shots of Paul. Well, then you saw firsthand the access that I got from the Panthers. This is season 5 covering them, and I love them so much because they treat me so well, and they're a very easy team to support. I won't say cheer for, but they're a very easy team to support, and they support what we do here very well as well. Coming up next hour, Jim Barker will be with us. I'm going to get into our NFL picks as well for Pump Jacks. Hey, Rob in Vegas, regarding the Hall of Fame induction tonight, he says, Scott Flegel was always a favorite bomber of mine growing up. He was born in Winnipeg and an incredible all-around athlete. So I just think these guys need to get more of their due that are going into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame tonight. And, I don't like criticizing the CFL, but again, Luke Wilson does it all the time, and he doesn't seem to get in trouble for it. So, and he's going to be on TSN tonight, Friday Night Football. So I think the guys going into the Hall of Fame tonight deserve a lot more pub than they're getting. That's all. And also Reid the Spaz Krasowski from Bare Knuckle Ice Wars coming up next hour. I've been looking forward to that interview more than I have of any in a long time. We'll be back after this brief pause here on Game Plus Television, YouTube Live, Mission Radio, and all podcast platforms.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hour 2 of the RP Show, coming your way on the Game Plus Television Network and various other platforms. Coming up this hour, Jim Barker will be joining us from the CFL on TSN to talk all levels and leagues of football on a Football Friday. And Reid the Spaz Krasowski from Bare Knuckle Ice Wars, former junior and senior hockey player that's going to be participating in basically UFC on skates, October 10th here in Sunrise, Florida. And speaking of that, before I re-up the quick six show topics here, John from Winnipeg writes in, he had asked me yesterday to pass along to Paul Maurice at Panthers training camp that Winnipeg misses him. And I said, I'm not going to do that. John says, I will have to come down to Florida and tell Paul Maurice we miss you in Winnipeg in person, Rod. You know, you probably would be allowed to do that. I want to say something. Not that they have no security at the Panthers practices in Fort Lauderdale, but I think it's like any U.S. team, at least Sunbelt, it's way, way, way more relaxed than anything I've seen in Canada. And trust me, I've covered a lot of NHL training camps in Canada and been to a lot of games. Like, I'll give you an example. The general manager of the Panthers, Bill Zito, was roaming around yesterday at Baptist Iceplex with not a toque, but what I would call a Scully. And the only reason I know that name is because Roy Shivers used to wear it all the time. The general manager of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Roy Shivers. It was like a nylon toque. And he was just sitting there visiting with Tim Reynolds from the Associated Press, one of the reporters. They were just shooting the breeze. Wasn't an interview. They were hanging out at the concession. I was eating chicken fingers and fries, just going, this is so casual. This is the general manager of the two-time defending Stanley Cup Florida Panthers sitting there dressed like Joe from Torquay. You know what I mean? Like, it's so chill. And that's the way the whole operation runs with the Florida Panthers. And I'm just so grateful and blessed that they've been so good to me going into season 5 of covering them. Okay, let's get on to it. I see this comment from Jeremy. He says, how long till Miami blows up? Well, let's go to the top of the Quick Six Show topics here, everybody. The big story, this weekend of football kicked off Thursday night. Josh Allen threw 3 touchdown passes, and Terrell Bernard intercepted Tua Tagovailoa with 3 minutes to go to secure the Buffalo Bills' 31-21 win over the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. James Cook had 108 yards rushing and a tud as the Bills continued their dominance against Miami. Buffalo's won 7 in a row and 14 of the past 15, including playoffs, against their AFC Eastern rival. And maybe the biggest stat to me is, there are 2 big stats. Josh Allen is now 8-0 on Thursday nights. The Bills are 3-0. Did I say that? And the Dolphins are 0-3. And to be honest, I expected to wake up this morning with a notification on my phone that Mike McDaniel had been fired, and he hasn't been fired. And I've been doing a lot of other things around here. I wasn't surfing the news all morning long. Kevin, the medium, was with us an hour ago, and he said the reports out of Miami are that because it was a moral victory, the Dolphins are going to keep McDaniel for at least one more week. And I'm like, I don't know why they would do that, because at 0-3, they're not making the playoffs. You look at the analytics history, they're not. But it brought about the poll question of this. Do you believe in moral victories, by the way, for EMJ Marketing? From impactful speakers to strategic marketing, EMJ Marketing is your all-in-one solution. Visit them at emjmarketing.com. Do you believe in moral victories? 70% of respondents in our poll are saying no, they don't believe in moral victories, and I don't believe in moral victories either. I understand the semantics around it, if you will, or the situation. If you're a really bad team, like the Cleveland Browns. Sorry to laugh, Tony from Cochrane, Alberta, but you're a Browns fan, and even he said it. That's the only victories they have are moral victories. So in Cleveland, the vote would be yes, we believe in them. But any winning program really does not. And I love that comment by my good friend Mydale Mike Lee, who tells me he doesn't watch this show because he's always golfing. I appreciate the honesty. But back in the day, Brendan Taman, our general manager with the Rough Riders, was always very fond of saying it's a results-based business. If they had to cut a player or fire a coach or whatever, pro football is a results-based business. And Mydale Mike, the landman, said every business is a results-based business, at least a successful one. There's no room for moral victories. Anyways, that's the thing with the NFL. I got to get moving here with my NFL picks. I'll get to right away. Point 2, I won't tell you how I was notified, but somewhat by accident, that it's Canadian Football Hall of Fame induction night tonight. Jermaine Copeland, Brian Chew, Joe Van Olivoya, Daryl Hall, Scott Flagel, Glenn Johnson, and Frank McChrystal. I asked the viewers to respond by telling me their favorite story of those guys, and I told mine of what I can remember of some of them last hour. I'm not going to do it here. But the fact that I need to find out by accident that it's Canadian Football Hall of Fame induction night is a problem, or weekend. The Hall of Fame game is tomorrow. These guys should be celebrated far more than they are. The induction speeches should be televised on national television, but whatever. They don't consult me. But I will say this. Of all the events I've been to, and it's literally thousands because I'm old and I've been around for a long time, top 5, I'm not going to number them, but 2 that come to mind, actually, ironically, are Hall of Fame inductions. This one in Okotoks just a couple of months ago when my dad went into the Western Canadian Pro Hockey Scouts Hall of Fame. It wasn't just about my dad going in. It was the efficiency of the event, the speeches, everything was great. That's top 5. I'm not sure what's number 1, but 2017 Hall of Fame induction in Hamilton. G. Roy Simon, Mike O'Shea. You've heard me tell the stories. Brian Taurus. That's also in the top 5. Weather needs to cooperate. It was on the field at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton. I remember just coming up to a table. Russ Jackson and Bob Obilovich were sitting there shooting the you-know-what. And I said, hey, guys, can I get a photo with you? They're like, absolutely, of course. If you knew those guys, it wouldn't surprise you. TSN Radio Hamilton was broadcasting live from the event. They had me on. It was just, everything was great. And maybe they'll do that tonight in Hamilton. I don't know. But it certainly hasn't been splashed everywhere, let's put it that way. And then there's a doubleheader of football tonight. We talked about it lengthily with Kevin the Medium 1 hour ago. Alouettes at the Argos. Montreal favored by 2.5. Lions at the Stampeders. BC favored by 4.5. And we did our picks on that, brought to you by Pump Jack Steakhouse and Saloon. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. That was point 3. Point 4, if you think there have been a lot of lopsided scores through the first 3 weeks of the college football season, you would be right. Let us count the ways. The average winning margin in the Football Bowl subdivision, FBS, is 25.5 points per game. That's average. And 28.9% when one of the teams is from a power conference. A total of 53 games have been decided by at least 40 points so far in 3 weeks. All those figures are the highest through a week 3 since at least 2000, according to Sport Radar. So now what they're asking is that run of blowouts an aberration? A product of there being a record 126 FCS, FBS matchups this year? Or is it talent hoarding by programs that can pay the most? It's anybody's guess right now. We'll talk a little college football. If you're into that, if you celebrate, what's the college football game you're looking forward to the most? Here, for me, it's the Florida Gators here this weekend at the U. Oh, my God, I see that all the time around here. And why not? Miami's top 10 ranked. That's the game I'm looking forward to the most. Jim Barker nailed it last week when he said Tennessee, Georgia was going to be the best, and it was. It went to overtime. Point 5, Toronto Blue Jays are in Kansas City tonight to take on the Royals, looking to snap a 2-game skid. After taking the opener, Toronto dropped its last 2 to Tampa Bay. The Jays' magic number to clinch a playoff berth remains at 3 as Cleveland beat Detroit 3-1 yesterday. Max Scherzer gets the start for Toronto, while Michael Lorenzen takes the mound for the Royals. By the way, back to that comment from Jeremy in Winnipeg. Did you say, you said, when are they blowing it up in Miami? I'll say it again. I laughed at ESPN yesterday going into the game when it said across the ticker, is the Heat getting loud in Miami with the Dolphins 0-2? It's been loud since last year. It's deafening now. My hairdresser, Melissa, thinks she wants to coach the Dolphins. Everybody's talking about it. The fact that Mike McDaniel still has a job is shocking to me. But again, they didn't consult me. Ken in Mississauga writes, and he says, 20 years play-by-play for the Rough Riders. You should be in the Media Hall of Fame category. I guess I'm not their kind, as Dale Hunter likes to say about Hall of Fames. You guys got talking about, I don't know how, Remembrance Day ceremonies here. You missed me on that. But I'm sure you all made a great point. By the way, I'll say this, when we got Reid Krasowski coming up, Reid the Spaz Krasowski is going to be fighting in the bare knuckle ice wars. Of all, speaking of a long career, some of the wildest interviews I've ever done is of MMA fighters. We were doing a show one night at the Orr Center, and it was being beamed across North America on the Fight Network. And I can't remember the kid's name other than he had won his fight. It's so different. It's one thing to interview a guy right on the field at the end of a game, which I've done, of course, but to be right in the cage is a little different. And this guy had just won in a knockout, like less than a minute into the first round, and then I'm interviewing him. When I went to interview him, his eyes were... It was like interviewing a Wolverine. As a matter of fact, I think his nickname was the Wolverine, now that I think about it. It was like interviewing a wild animal. And I said, "Oh, you won this bout in 11 seconds. What happened out there?" He's like, "I don't remember. I blacked out." Where do you go from there? Other than he wanted to say hi to his parents who were watching in New Mexico. But anyways, Reid the Spaz Krasowski, who we were texting back and forth here, he basically said, once I win this fight, October 10th, then I'm going to go on and do this. It's just a different world. Okay. So we went through all that. Producer Corey says MMA jiu-jitsu guys are on a different level for sure. Yeah, but hey, variety makes the world go around. It's 1:11 Eastern. How about that? Just popped up. 11:11 Mountain. Visualize a positive outcome to your current problem. What do you got to lose? Before I get into our NFL picks, 902-518-3033. How about this? I didn't know this. Kirk in Toronto says, hey, Rod, today is Military Family Appreciation Day in Canada. God bless. Thank you. Kenny in Vancouver writes in, he says, happy Friday, Rod. Great show today, just like every day. I watch the show every day, and it's time to ask because I'm curious. Can you please tell me the names of the bobbleheads on the shelf behind you? I can only name one of them, and that's Don Cherry. Have a great weekend. Take care. Well, the two on the top shelf beside my dad's goalie mask, Rod Pedersen and Darren DuPont. You might know them. Chad and Lethbridge had that specially made for our 1,000th episode or 1,500th episode. I can't remember. One of them. I think it was our 1,500th episode. This little baby blue one is Alexander Barkov, the captain of the Florida Panthers. That was a gift of the Panthers a couple of years ago when I first got down here. This is a guy you might have heard of by the name of Connor Bedard. I don't know. Got him in Chicago when we were there in January, and then Ron and Don. How about that? There's your introductions. Okay, to the NFL picks for Pump Jacks. I'm going to give you the point spreads from Cool Bet. We don't have Moose here to decide whether he's going to take the bet or not, so it's just me. But it'd be a good primer for the weekend games. Colts at Titans on Sunday. Indianapolis favored by 4.5. I'm taking that bet. Colts off to an NFL record-setting start. Pittsburgh at New England. The Steelers favored by 1.5. I'm taking it. Aaron Rodgers looking for redemption this week. New York Jets at Tampa Bay. 6.5 the Buccaneers are favored by. They just played Monday night, and the Jets are coming in hungry. The Bucs are coming in fat. Not taking that bet. Las Vegas at Washington. Commanders favored by 3.5. I'll take the bet. For a cool bet, use the promo code RP Show for up to $200 welcome bet bonus at coolbet.com. Canadian viewers only. LA Rams at Philadelphia. The Eagles favored by 3.5. I'll take it. The Atlanta Falcons, one of the surprise teams of this NFL season, at Carolina. Dirty Birds favored by 5.5. I'll take that one. Minnesota Vikings favored by 2.5 at home over the Bengals. Minus Joe Burrow. I'll take it. Houston Texans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jags favored by 1.5. That should be an easy cover, I would think, for the Jags. Green Bay at Cleveland. Pack favored by 7.5. Taking the bet. Chargers over Denver. LA favored by 2.5. Definitely taking the bet in the AFC West. Chargers will go to 3-0. New Orleans at Seattle. Seahawks favored by 7.5. Taking the bet since they're at home, and the Saints are the worst team in the league. Close to it. Arizona at San Francisco. Battle of 2-0 teams. Not taking the bet. Niners favored by 2.5. I think the Cardinals will rise in an upset. Dallas Cowboys at Chicago. Boys favored by 1.5. Of course. Kansas City at the New York Football Giants. The Chiefs favored by 6.5. Not going to do it. Nope. Giants fans are excited about their team. They'll show you this weekend why. And Detroit at Baltimore. Ravens favored by 4.5 over the Lions. Both teams 1-1. Yeah, I think I'll take that one after the Ravens were upset or embarrassed by the Bills 2 Sundays ago. Those are our NFL picks for Pump Jacks, Cathedral, and Cool Bet. When we come back, Jim Barker and Reid the Spaz Krasowski from Bare Knuckle Ice Wars, both on the way. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, YouTube Live, podcast, and 1700 Mission Radio.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Are you craving the famous Greek ribs everybody is talking about? Get yours today at the Mad Greek Eatery. Great for watching football. Dine in, pick up, or order online at themadgreekeatery.com. All right, pleased to welcome our football insider, Jim Barker, on this Football Friday. Jim, with every league playing right now, where's your focus today? Where are we starting?
Oh, I'm starting with the Hall of Fame because two of my guys are going in that, I just am real close to, Jermaine Copeland and Brian Chew. And so I'm going up to the Hall of Fame. So that's kind of where my head is right now. But there's so many exciting things happening. The only one that's not really exciting is college football because of what you're talking about. The NIL has changed the difference between the haves and the have-nots incredibly. And college football there's just not that many games. I mean, there's only two I even like this week. So, and your games on your pro picks, you took Marcus Mariota to go in and beat his old team, the Raiders. Oh, okay, because it's Washington Commanders and not Jaden Daniels. And then you took Tyrod Taylor to lead the Jets against those Tampa Bay Buccaneers that are playing as well as anybody. And then you took Carson Wentz in search of the remake of Sam Darnold and remaking his career, substituting for J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings, going up against Jake Browning and those Cincinnati Bengals. So I just thought those were interesting picks, Rod, that I'd pass on to you.
Well, the Vikings are favored. And, it's kind of sad that there's so many backups being starting already. It's only week 3 in the NFL.
Well, we went through the same thing as CFL, remember? And we were saying, is this, it's normal. And especially now with the NFL playing with more Justin Fields type of guys who do run around and have things, things happen when you do that. Now, Joe Burrow's thing was, that was sad. And Jane Daniels, same thing. He's a running type of guy. So I think they're playing a little different type of style. And that's why you see so many injuries and so many backup quarterbacks getting an opportunity.
Of the games in the Canadian Football League this week, I've asked you this pretty much all season, is the runaway game of the week is BC at Calgary. That won the vote Wednesday from our viewers. I assume you agree.
Yeah, it's an interesting game because you have BC, who I think has the best offense in the league, or has the potential to be. They do everything well. Their quarterback's playing at a huge high level. And then you got Calgary, who has had a good defense, and BC, who has no defense, and Calgary, whose offense hasn't quite been as good as BC, but has been okay. So that's a big game in the standings for both teams. Because have you ever heard of a year where 13 games in, over 2/3 of the season, only 3 teams are over 500?
No.
There's 6 teams under 500. Like I said last week, put them into a cap, pull one out, and, it could be anybody. And that's what the games are tonight, with Toronto and Montreal. Now, it's a huge game for Toronto because they've lost the series to Montreal already. So even if they win and tie them, they're still a game behind. They have to be a game ahead of Montreal to basically move into second place. So if they win, they'll be tied, but they'll still be in second because they've lost the season series. So that's a huge game. And, Toronto's done something remarkable. Hasn't been done since 94 Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Had over 30 points scored against them and won 3 games in a row. It's never happened in CFL where a team has given up 30 points and still won the game 3 weeks in a row. That's pretty phenomenal. Now they've got Jared Dagey getting his first start in the CFL. And I know Chris Jones loved this guy. Thought he just had everything it takes. I know Chad Kelly's spoken high of him. So it's going to be interesting to watch him play. But it's a tall order if they're going to play the game of, Montreal's coming off of a 48-point effort last week against the league leaders. It was just, one of those things. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, the Montreal-Toronto matchup. But I'm going to be in the induction ceremony. Again, I didn't even know about it this week. I've been in this league for 30 years. I had no idea that, they've been on TSN. They talk about Overdrive being at the Argo game tonight, and it's a big deal for TSN. But they have not even mentioned the induction ceremony. So I had to call and try to get in late because it's Jermaine Copeland, who's special to me. He played for me in the XFL, and then I brought him to Montreal when I left the XFL, went to Montreal. The XFL folded, and I brought Jermaine. And when I got the Coach of the Year award in 2010 in Toronto, and in those days they didn't do it at the regular award thing, and it was out in Vancouver in January. And I was just shocked, but Jermaine Copeland popped out to give me my award, and it was just one of the special moments I've ever had in this league. So for me to not be there when he gets into the Hall of Fame would just be a shame. So,
well,
then Brian Shue, you wanted something on each of these guys. I'm going to give you a little something on Brian Shue.
Sure.
This is a fact nobody in the CFL knows, but Brian will never deny it. He is the greatest defensive signal stealer in the history of CFL football. He was a master. He would get in the huddle and he would watch the signs of the defensive coach and tell AC exactly what was happening. And you want to know why our offensive line back then, I was the offensive coordinator, why we picked up all those stunts? Because we knew they were coming. And we looked fantastic. But and it was not cheating. It wasn't cheating. It was part of the game.
They
Yes.
were also great blockers too.
They were great
Choose,
blockers.
Choose getting
Flory.
all the pub, which he should. But can you name that starting five? Because they should all be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, Scott Flory and Uzoma Okeke. Who else was over there? Neil Fort. I think Neil Fort was on that line.
Was Lambert on that?
No, I think Bruce Beaton.
Okay.
I think, but I'm not positive. But Chew was he was the leader, and he was such a great center. He was just perfect. I mean, he's a little undersized, but he could just always get there. And nowadays it's hard to judge offensive linemen because of all the RPO, and now they're calling people for being down. Well, Chew was on linebackers so fast and just a great player. But to me, no signal stealer in the history of the game as great as Brian, because the key to stealing signals in baseball too is don't let them know you have it. If you have a tip on a sign or a thing a catcher does, you don't let the other team have it. Same thing with stealing defensive signals. Is Chew would sit in the huddle, look at the guy, and just tell AC, you're going to get cover 3 or you're going to get cover 0, and he'd tell the lineman, hey, we're getting a 3-man loop, and that's, again, that to me is a great skill to have. So Brian was a great player, but he was also a great stealer. So there's a couple stories on a couple guys going in tonight.
John Ohm says, I love these stories, Coach Barker. That's the thing that I don't know. I can't imagine that Commissioner Stuart Johnston would be okay with the fact that we're finding out by accident that this is the Hall of Fame week when these types of stories are what needs to be told. That's what makes these events so great and nights like this so great.
I completely agree with you. And you know what? That office did it again. At the end of the Toronto game last week, there was Edmonton coaches that had been in Toronto, and there was a lot of banter going on the sidelines. And at the end of the game, Ryan showed some emotion. And you know what? I find that exciting and encouraging that fans can see. You don't want to start fights and things, but there was no fight started. Yet they, in their infinite wisdom, fined Ryan Dinwiddie for his emotion that he showed on the sideline. Again, 4 guys doing it. Now that Randy Ambrosie's not there, there's not one person in that office that has ever played a down, coached a down, worked in the front office a down of any pro football team. And it's hard for them to understand the emotions that happen. And I know exactly what Ryan Dinwiddie was feeling when that happened. When you win a game for the 3rd week in a row like that, and you've got people chirping on you because the sidelines are on the same side. And they're chirping personal things at him that it's not right. Yet he wins at the last minute and is able to show a little excitement and emotion, and now you're going to get thrown a fine. It's like I throw my hands up. I just don't, as a former coach, player, I don't get why you would do that, because that's what's exciting for our fans is emotion and guys caring.
I feel sorry for the people that have to deal with it because I couldn't deal with it. That's why I'm sitting here talking to you right now. We have viewers.
I get to talk about it now.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have viewer questions coming in, but speaking of odd decisions from the top or lack of decisions, I want to know your thoughts on Tom Brady. And again, you're not in America like I am, but all I've heard all week is Tom Brady. How is he allowed to own a team and be on Fox and now in the coach's booth of the Raiders? How's that being allowed? Because it actually is against league rules. And some coaches are getting upset about it. Some say they don't care, but what do you think about it?
Well, coaches are always going to say to the media they don't care. But, a big part of being a color guy is, Fox is the one that loses. And then Tom and if he wants to go down as the next John Madden, it's going to be tougher for him because people won't trust to say things to him that they may say to other color guys that, hey, here's the real story behind it. They're not going to tell him any real stories and things like that. But again, it's like what he can turn the film on and see what they're doing. And, you answer the questions he has as a Fox announcer and things you're not comfortable giving him that, it may be personnel related about, hey, you're running a lot of 3 tight ends and is there and maybe it's because you got a wide receiver nicked up. Now, if he's not with the Raiders, they're going to say that, they'll say to the guy, listen, he's nicked up, so we're just trying to kind of protect him, and that's why we're doing. And then the guy knows, and he doesn't make a big deal about it. The color guy. We had a situation in CFL where one of the color people came and got into it in terms of the coach. Well, with Scott Milanovich, told him something about two players that were competing for a job, and he spilled it. And Scott just said, I just won't talk to that color guy anymore. And he didn't. Through his entire career, he never did. And that's what happens. So, again, coaches are smart enough to know the things that will help a team and things that he can watch film. And he's a smart guy. I mean, I feel sorry for the Raider coaches having an owner who's probably in there part-time, and you're in there busting your. I mean, I had that situation happen where we're getting ready for the draft, and we have it was for free agency. And we have our board all set up with who we're going to go on and who we're not. And an owner walks in and he says, well, why is this guy here? Why is he below the law? Because we're not going. Oh, no, we're going on him. I was like, so have you watched film? Have you spent the last month and a half doing nothing but this? That's how coaches feel when owners or people like that walk in the booth. So Tom will learn. It's, I've worked for an owner whose kid was on the team. I've worked for an owner who owned a team across the country in the same league that he liked better than ours. I mean, I've worked for a plethora. I've worked for an owner that had a associate that had hockey teams and basketball teams and soccer. Everything counted more than you did. I've worked for all of them. So I kind of get the owner-coach relationship and how that goes. And again, I think it's Tom Brady that loses on it, and Fox. I don't see it as a thing where, coaches they'll always talk to a guy like Tom Brady. But he's just not going to get the information he would get if he was Tom Brady, not going over and sitting in the coach's booth with the Raiders.
Well, the beautiful thing is everybody has an opinion on it, like everybody's got a belly button. But Mike Florio said the other day that Tom Brady should do the honorable thing and step down from one of the roles. And I'm like, why? He's getting $37.5 million from Fox. He gets to own the Raiders and be in the coaches. Why the hell would Tom Brady step down? That's not on Tom. He's doing what's best for crazy. Tom. Right? But anyways, David in Winnipeg writes in, he says, good afternoon, Rod and Coach Barker. I'm nervous for tomorrow with Strevler as QB1. Makes me wonder how serious Zach's injury potentially is. What's the scuttlebutt on the Bombers here moving forward?
Well, I'm surprised Zach's not playing this week. I had spoken to him. I thought he was going to be back this week. They've got a problem because they put their eggs in Strevler's basket, and he won the first game. And that's what they're relying on. The problem is, if you look at that team with Chris Strevler as a quarterback, do you say, if you're a fan or if you're a coach more, or if you're a GM, can we win the Grey Cup with him at quarterback? And we went through this in 2016. We lost Ricky Ray, and we thought it was going to be a couple weeks, found out it's going to be for the year. And our backup quarterback was Dan Lefevre. And Dan was a great backup. He could run, and very similar to Strevler. Didn't have the most accurate arm. And we had and basically coaches said, we can't win the Grey Cup. Now we're hosting it in 2016. Braley somehow got the Grey Cup back in Toronto and said, we cannot win the Grey Cup with Dan Lefevre as our quarterback for the rest of the way. So the only guy that was out there that they felt we had a chance with was Drew Willie. So we went out and got Drew Willie. And people say, well, why would you do that? Well, you know what? It's about winning Grey Cups and doing the things you think you need to do for that. Turned out it wasn't the right decision. But, again, you live by what you do. And that's kind of the same kind of deal as what's going on with Winnipeg now. Do they go in and say, we can't win with Chris Strevler, so what are we going to do? I don't think so. Again, they don't know what's going to happen with Zach. But if Zach if it comes out that it's exactly like 2016 to me in Toronto.
Well, it's funny because we're going to have to run here right away, but Moose, it was Monday he was on, and I said how it seems like the zaniest year ever, and he's like, we say that every year. But this feels zanier, doesn't it?
It's been one of those years. It's been one. Yeah. I mean, when you look at that Ottawa-Winnipeg game, that thing should be a nothing burger, and that game is huge for the playoff implications, both for Ottawa. If Ottawa loses it, their chances of getting in are going to be are going to really be cut down. And Winnipeg, the thought of them, beating Ottawa, it just was not a thing going in that you would think would be an issue. So again, and then you got Edmonton. What's going to happen with them this week? I don't know. It's just the whole CFL this year. You're right. It's zany, and it's like I said, put them into a hat and pull one out. You probably could pick up the Grey Cup winner.
Well, and that's the thing. The Riders at 10-3 on a bye are not going to waltz to the Grey Cup. They all think in SAS they are. It don't work that way. We've seen 16-2 Eskimos. We've seen 15-win teams not get to the. Now, are they good enough? Are they the best team? Yes, but that don't mean anything come November, right? No. When the snow starts flying.
How does that happen? So if you're the best team, Rod, and I know you got to go. I know that. But if you're the best team, how does a Montreal team with McLeod Bethel-Thompson, the backup quarterback, coming back off of injury, score 48 points on your defense? How does that happen?
I know, at 530 yards off. I know.
For me. At home.
I know. Okay. Well, he drops that on. He's the coach. You tell me, coach. I'd love to know how it happens. We'll be right back after this on Game Plus.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. Football Friday continues. Be part of the team. Grab your RP Show merch right now at rodpedersen.com. Just click on RP Store to get yours. Okay, we got him, everybody. We got him. Reid, the Spaz Krasowski from Bare Knuckle Ice Wars, former junior and senior hockey players, joining us today to talk about the big fight card coming up October 10th here in Sunrise, Florida. Spaz, how you doing, my guy?
I'm doing good. How are you, Rod? I'm a big fan.
I'm a big fan of yours. As I told you, I'm going to be in the seats at American Bank Arena cheering you on October the 10th. Listen, we don't have a lot of time here, so jump into it, man. How did you get into this Bare Knuckle Ice Wars fight card, and tell me about yourself?
So, yeah, this last year I just started playing senior with my brother, and then I was obviously boxing a little before that, and since high school, that's all I've been doing really is boxing and just playing senior hockey and junior. But then, yeah, around January, February, I seen online that Bare Knuckle BKFC partnered with Ice Wars and got the promotion under their belt. So I was like, they were looking for fighters and stuff. So I was like, I'm going to sign up just to see what happens, because they actually have weight classes. So like in fighting, obviously I'm a lighter weight in hockey. So like usually the fighters are heavier guys in hockey, like 200 plus. So fighting usually isn't much of an option, but now that there's weight classes and stuff, and with my skills and the size, I was like, oh, I should definitely sign up. And then, yeah, they gave me a call like probably a couple months later, and then asked if I was really interested in stuff, and then went through some things, and then yeah, they sent me a contract, and then they told me just to wait on the division, because they had two events in the summer here in June and July, but they were still building up the lighter weight, so they finally got it built up now. And then yeah, they called me with the name Charles, and at first I couldn't really believe it, because of how big of a name he is and stuff, but then yeah, they were obviously serious, and I wasn't going to turn it down just because of the big opportunity.
The Florida hockey fans want to know what it's going to look like, what's going to go on. I don't know what to tell them. I've never been to anything like this. So what's it going to be like?
Yeah, it's I think 90 or 9, like it's a big square foot box on the ice. It'll be at one end, and then it's just basically it's 3 rounds, 1 minute rounds, and then yeah, it's two guys going head to head, bare knuckle. It's just hockey fights basically, and then at the end, if there's not a winner, it goes to decision, and the judges make that decision. But yeah, it's a lot of fights, a lot of blood, and it's very exciting. Like, I know it's new, but once it catches on, people are going to understand why, like, people are going to see these.
We can't wait. So you're a hockey player that fights. You're fighting an MMA fighter that skates. Tell me about your opponent.
Yeah. Yeah, so I like his hockey experience. I don't know much about, because obviously he's been in the UFC all the time. So I'm not sure. I'm sure he probably played some rec here and there, but like I know he said he played college and fought back then, so I'm sure he's okay on his skates. I've seen some footage, doesn't look the best, but I've obviously know about him just from the UFC, is how I get prepared for him, just watching his fights there and his tendencies and stuff like that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see him on the ice and what comes from his MMA and what he can bring into the hockey fight, but it's going to be completely different. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what he can do.
You know that there's going to be at least us from Saskatchewan there cheering for you. You know that you're going to have a fan base in the barn, right?
Yeah, and I got some friends and family coming down too, so, and anyone that likes an underdog too.
You're my favorite, bro. But you're pretty confident going into this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be, or else you all lost the fight before you go in the fight. But also, I know what I can do, especially on the ice against a guy that is a lot smaller than me. I know he's a tough guy and was in the UFC, but yeah, on the ice is a lot different. And I'm very confident because I know the work I'm putting in, and yeah, it's gonna look easy on October 10th.
All right, it is October the 10th at Amerit Bank Arena, the home of the Florida Panthers, and Reid the Spaz Krasowski. I'll ask you when I see you about that nickname. You have my number, and you'd better hit me up when you get down here, okay?
Oh, I will for sure. And yeah, you guys, the nickname will make sense after the fight.
All right, thank you, Spaz. Appreciate it. Train well. We'll see.
All right, thank you, Rod.
We'll be right back after this, everybody, here on Game Plus TV.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope you are ready for the weekend. I just got the best news. Oh, second best news. The best news is that we're brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes, 28th Street, Northeast Calgary. If you haven't figured out yet, hockey people are my kind of people. I've been texting back and forth with Reid the Spaz Krasowski. He asked to get on the show, said he's been a big fan of the show, big fan of mine. And I said, I'm a big fan of yours just because you're a hockey player. I never heard of the guy until I saw the poster come out for Bare Knuckle Ice Wars here in Sunrise, Florida. A guy from Yorkton's coming here to fight MMA on skates. Are you kidding me? And it's funny because it was on Wednesday. I said, text me a photo of yourself and some info if you don't mind. He said, I will when I get off work. And then he never did. And I'm like, he's a hockey player. We're good. I didn't expect really anything other than that. But that's not the good news I got. I went down to the Keys last weekend in my Jeep and came home with a rattle under the hood, producer Corey. A rattle in my Jeep. I know. I drove it all week. I probably shouldn't have. I know. And I'm like, people have come back from the Keys with far worse things than a rattle under the hood. But I finally got it into my guy Mike this morning, Mike the mechanic. And he's like, I won't give you all the details. I don't want to bore everybody on it. But he's like, could be by the end of the day or could be a week. I don't know. It depends on parts. And then he just texted me and he's like, your Jeep's done. You can get it. Unless you want me to come get you. And I dropped it off this morning. And he goes, you still living in blah, 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 blah? I'm like, yeah. He goes, do you want to take my car home? I'm like, no, I'll just walk. I'll be good walking. And that's why I was listening to Pro Football Talk with Florio. It's not that far of a walk. But this is my guy, Mike. And it's funny because this is my home. This is my community. I know people don't understand. But I'm now almost in year 5 here. And when I come in there, Mike drops everything to fix my Jeep. And in Canada, I got used to people saying, it's just because you're the voice of the Rough Riders. Now, he didn't even know who they are, okay? He's just a good guy, and we get along really great. So I'm not going to be walking all weekend is the point. Let's look it up. Rental cars. No, Goldie is out of the shop, thanks to Mike. BC Eric writes in, he says, Jim Barker is great for Football Friday. Oh, he's the best. Jim Barker is... You guys were writing in about me going in the Hall of Fame. How about Jim Barker? 5 Grey Cups. I don't know. I get pretty excited about Hall of Fames, obviously, and the talk and everything. And this is a really, really good class this year for the CFL. I just wish it was promoted more. I really do. Because I think all the Hall of Famers deserve their due. But I found out this morning by accident, really, that this was the weekend because I saw a photo of the 4 Rams guys down there. And, of course, they're carrying their brown paper bags of the booze they picked up for goes hand in hand with these things, right? Just on brand. Hey, Rich in Edmonton writes in. He says, off to Vancouver for the upcoming Who concert next week. Be well, all. You don't miss much, do you, Rich? That's awesome. That's Rich. Way to go. Producer Corey says, go Mike the mechanic. Oh, he's unbelievable. I had an electrical problem a couple years ago with the Jeep. He's like, it's not really my thing, but I'm going to fix this. He pulled down all the garage doors and blocked out the world to get to the heart of it. And the fact that he's willing to come pick me up is just kind of tells you what kind of guy he is. So that's awesome. Sports on tap. Tonight, CFL doubleheader, as we mentioned. Alouettes at Argonauts, Lions at Stampeders. Major League Baseball, the Blue Jays are at Kansas City. Jays close to nailing down the pennant. That is wild. What a year of sports it's been. College football, one big exciting game tonight for sure. Tulsa at, or is that Tulane at Oklahoma State? I just got TUL, it's the Green Wave, right? Iowa at Rutgers. And opening night in the Western Hockey League. Moose Jaw at Brandon, Saskatoon at PA, God's team, the Regina Pats at Swift Current. Couple of games in Alberta for you people out there in Alberta. Edmonton at Red Deer, Calgary at Lethbridge, Spokane at Kelowna, Portland at PG. Penticton V's play their first ever major junior game. They are at Victoria tonight. Junior A gets rolling as well. By the way, we're brought to you by Outlaw Communications, where creativity isn't a hobby, it's a way of life. From strategic communications to leadership training and conversational content, we help your message connect and inspire. Had all these notes written down, and I actually got to them today. I want to thank Kevin the Medium for joining us to kick things off in hour one over the last couple of days. Big CFL fan. It's always fun talking. I've written down Cats fan. This is funny. Now, I didn't get to the sports update this hour because we had the Spaz on for Ultimate Fan Zone. Fan Zone, Ultimate Fan Zone, from jerseys to trading cards. Ultimate Fan Zone sports stories, your fan cave headquarters. Visit them in Moose Jaw or click over to ultimatefanzone.ca. Sitting in the crowd at the Panthers practice yesterday, some guy comes up. He's like, "Are these the guys that are going to make the team? Because I don't recognize any of their names." No, they're all rookies. Ken in Mississauga says, looks like the Bare Knuckles Ice Wars event will be broadcast live on YouTube. There you go. October the 10th. We'll be live at American Bank Arena. Maybe I can weasel my way on air. Dale in Winnipeg says, Rod and crew, great couple weeks. I've been away. Best car breakdown was in my 88 Mustang. Spring 2012, April 2012. Jack agrees. Okay, was that when he was conceived? You'll have to tell me Monday. Yeah, I say you like that one, producer Corey. I'm sitting there coming back from the Keys. I pray a lot. I talk to God a lot, several times a day, actually. Just get me home. Just get me home. With this rattle coming from under the hood, and got her fixed today. So, okay, everybody, be good to yourself. Stop worrying, please, as much as you can, and enjoy each other. Be good to yourself. Be present. We'll see you Monday here on Game Plus TV.
Now I'm the whore and the pimp. That's where the money is.
How about that?